Welcome, champions. This is Arcadia.
Welcome, champions. Today, we're talking about one of the most personal and one of the most interactive forms of media we have right now, video games. The thing that our show's about and the thing that we really, really want to talk about.
Yeah, video games. I'm going to start with my favorites. I love Zelda. Fell in love with Zelda before I even knew how to operate and hold the Nintendo controller. From that, my love of sword and sorcery and fantasy grew. Diablo and Diablo 2 are some of the greatest games that have ever been made, as simple as they are, action RPGs, but you give me stats and you give me power abilities, and I am a very happy camper. My actual favorite video games sometimes are just menus, because I will scroll through menus and optimize whatever these numbers are, or however to color coordinate my skills. I'm all about it. Yeah, so I guess, yeah, I like a lot of idle games that kind of just exist in the background as you upgrade and count things. A sleeper game that I don't know if any of you have heard of. It's called Cultist Simulator, and the only way that I can describe it is this is a spinning plate game, and it is nothing but mystery and intrigue, and all you do is connect tiles to other tiles and put them on places on the board, and it is so intriguing and so frustrating, but oh my gosh, can they tell so much story with such a simple concept. I highly recommend that. The game that's closest to Arcadia, or the biggest inspiration, is probably Inscription. That game kind of floored me when it came out a couple years ago. It's a game that is another game, and it's a different game than what you were playing at the beginning. It is a nesting doll of games and experiences, and they tell a really good story along with the core game mechanic. And what am I playing now? I'm actually playing Pokemon Unite, because that game is slowly dying, but I'm really good with Eldegoss, so I'm just gonna keep healing everybody on the squad and getting those victory points. But yeah, as far as all my video games wants, likes, needs, yeah, give me RPGs, give me fantasy, and then give me things where I can develop a character.
So when I was younger, the very first game I ever saw was the original Mario on Nintendo, or Super Mario Brothers. And I wanted to play it. I was too young. I was like 4 or something like that. But it just got me into this idea of like this. I want to learn more about games, and eventually I did play that, and I played Mario 3. I went from Nintendo to Super Nintendo, and I felt like Super Nintendo was just such a golden era for video games. I was playing Mortal Kombat, and I remember my parents' roommate that lived with us. They were playing some game that I just didn't even understand. It was from Squaresoft. And they were playing Final Fantasy 4. It was Final Fantasy 2 at the time, but it's 4. And Secret of Mana. And that just blew my mind, those type of games, because it was not some simple little game. It was a story-driven game. You got, and the music itself also was like just so incredible. And I was not really good at reading, and it forced me to read. And I really appreciated I started appreciating reading because of RPGs. And so I was always a huge fan of Squaresoft. When Nintendo 64 came out, I played, Mario 64, which was just incredible, and Mario Kart. I played the original Mario Kart before Mario Kart on 64. But like throughout the generations, I felt like I was always sticking with Squaresoft. I love probably my favorite game of all time is Chrono Trigger, which has to deal with time. Like a lot of people say that's like one of their tops, but it's just a really good game. And from music to story to characterization, graphics were even good for Nintendo, Super Nintendo. Of course, Final Fantasy VII is really up there, and Final Fantasy VI. Of course, the game that's like probably my favorite game now is still debatable between Chrono Trigger, but it's Final Fantasy 14 Online. That heavily influenced how I made the show. That game, and I met a whole pack of people that I really care about through a virtual world.
I haven't played probably as many different video games as most of these other guys. I've done a lot of gaming in my life, video games including, but more tabletop, Magic board games and stuff like that. But the video games I find that I like, usually it's because like someone told me, or there's a reason I'm playing it. It's established as good, and then I just get hooked on it, and I'll just play that game for hours a day for years or something. My list is smaller, but I've put a lot of hours into each of them, and I'll say I tend to like more, I guess, strategy-based games as opposed to maybe like hand-eye coordination type games. I really love. I'm gonna immediately kind of counter myself when I talk about I'll say KOTOR. I want to say that's like the type of game where there wasn't an amount of hand-eye coordination, but it's very minimized. It was story-driven. It was in a Star Wars world, and that makes me love it. And the story was pretty good. And I also liked how open it was, how many different sort of paths you could go on, and it would how with the types of interactions you have with people affected like your relationship with them, and it could open new storylines. That was a really intriguing concept to me. And it gave you good reason to play through it again multiple times, which made the overall world building so valuable since there are so many different ways to move through the world. And I'm sure there's other games of that ilk that are better, but I loved that one. And I know the Star Wars is part of it, but a couple of my other favorite games are, a little more hand-eye coordination, but there's still, the reason I love them is because they're the strategy behind them. StarCraft, I think that's like an all-time. I don't think anyone would argue with me. Never mind how much I love it. Like, it's an established all-time classic, great game. And what I love about it, one of the many things I love about it, and this one thing kind of encompasses many of the other things, it's how balanced it was. It was so well balanced in almost every aspect, like, speed versus power, the different matchups of like Zerg versus Protoss, or even the mirror matches, human versus human, or even when you go to 2-on-2 or 3-on-3, that maintained into any combination. Like, it took so much effort to balance all that, and I suppose over time they did, patch it up, but and they had a pretty good music and storyline, production. I have a million little sound bites in my head. Ready to go, sir. All the different things that the Marines or tanks would say when you activated them. All those little sound bites are just in my brain. Let's move. Anyway, and the other one is Madden. But Madden is really, the way I play Madden, it does take hand-eye coordination. I love those, 2005, 2003-ish Maddens where, not that the gameplay wasn't, it wasn't great. It wasn't terrible. Almost all the video games, you could just like run the scores up. You as a player just do so much better than the characters. But I like the franchise mode. I like signing a contract and scouting teams out and recruiting each team and like making the plays and trying to get the offensive line built and how much you budget to. Anyway, all that kind of. My friend made fun of me one time. He's like, "Oh, you're playing accountant." I was like, "Hey. Yeah, okay, sure." But it's football accountant. What else? Let's see. I don't know if I have my sleeper is really, I haven't played in forever. I'm not even 100% sure I have the name right. I think it's called Avatar. It was like I think it was like a early SNES game. And you have a sort of strategy. It's kind of a mix. You're, as an avatar, these moments, you're like managing a city. You're like a god, and you're like managing the city. So you tell the people, build a temple here, build a farm there, build a road there. It's like, Civ or whatever, Sim City or something. In 1988. This is like an old freaking game. But then, so every now and then, something will happen, and you'll have to get your avatar. You'll have to like become this warrior with a sword. You have to like side scroll, fight things, and to stop the drought. You're like fighting with gods. So like one of the other gods caught a drought on your land, so you have to go do a sword fight with him so that your people get rain again, and so you go in these two modes of managing the city and like little fight combats. But I don't know why that game stuck with me so much after all these years, but I got to call it a sleeper. You know, I don't really have a go into release Omen though. I don't know. My instinct is to say World of Warcraft, but I know that's a little simplistic. But I think of World of Warcraft as being kind of foundational of modern multiplayer combat fantasy. You know, it's even if some other game is a better representation of our game, I still think that's a fair representation of one that many people will recognize better than something that might be technically better, but.
Gaming as a medium has advanced so much in the past, even just 20 years. God knows how it's going to advance. There are so many games that can be considered great games. And I have to say, I got to start off with easily the greatest video game of all time, Shadow of the Colossus. This game is everything gaming as an art form represents. It has great music, great story, great design for all the characters. Everything about this game is near perfect. I would recommend this game to anyone. Wow, champions, that was so much fun. I'm glad we all got to talk about some of our favorite video games. That was so much fun. However, we have so much more to talk about than all just that. So stick around. We're going to have some more. And remember, stay ever vigilant.
If you enjoyed this content, please drop a like. If you have any questions, please make a comment below. And if you like this video, please subscribe. And Arcadians, be ever vigilant.